Sarah Chen walked into her office at 5 in the morning. The coffee maker buzzed in the corner. Outside her window, the desert sky was still dark. 3 bright lights moved slowly across the stars. Those were alien ships coming to dock at the new Giza spaceport. She sat down at her desk and opened her computer. Numbers filled the screen. Ship arrivals, departures, fuel sales, repair requests. Sarah was the port commander. Her job was to keep track of everything that happened at Earth's first space trading post. The spaceport had been open for 3 months now. At first, only a few alien ships came each week. Now they arrived every day. Some came to trade. Others needed fuel. Many wanted repairs. Sarah took a sip of her coffee and started reading the daily reports. Something caught her eye. A ship from the hegemony had requested repairs yesterday. The same type of ship had been here last week. And the week before that. She frowned and pulled up more data. Her fingers moved quickly across the keyboard. Ship names, species, homeworlds, repair requests. The information painted a strange picture. The hegemony had 3 repair stations within 50 light-years of Earth. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of humans. Their mechanics were trained from birth. Their computers could fix almost any problem in minutes. So why were hegemony ships coming to Earth for repairs? Sarah dug deeper into the files. She found records for ships from the Crystalline Collective. They had repair bays on every planet in their territory. Their crystal-based technology could rebuild entire engines in hours. Yet 5 of their ships had visited human repair bays in the past month. The pattern grew clearer as she searched. Ships from 7 different alien species were choosing human mechanics over their own. They traveled extra days, sometimes weeks, to reach Earth. They paid higher fees. They waited in longer lines. It made no sense. Sarah printed out the reports and spread them across her desk. Red ink marked each alien ship that had requested repairs. Blue ink showed their home systems and nearby repair facilities. The pattern was impossible to ignore. Her assistant Tom knocked on the door and walked in. He carried a steaming cup of tea and a worried expression. "Commander, we have a problem," Tom said. "The repair bays are completely booked for the next 2 weeks. We have 17 ships waiting in orbit. Some captains are getting angry." Sarah looked up from her papers. Angry about what? They want to know why the wait is so long. A few of them mentioned they could go to other repair stations, but they refuse to leave. They specifically want human mechanics to work on their ships. This confirmed what Sarah suspected. She stood up and walked to the window. The sun was rising over the desert. Below, she could see the massive landing pads where alien ships sat like sleeping giants. Humans in orange worksuits moved between them, carrying tools and equipment. "Tom, I need you to do something for me," she said. "Contact the repair bay supervisors. Ask them to keep detailed records of every alien ship that comes in. I want to know what repairs they request, how long the work takes, and what the captains say about the service." Tom nodded and made notes on his tablet. "Should I ask why you want this information?" "I think something unusual is happening here. Something the Galactic Trade Commission needs to know about." After Tom left, Sarah continued studying the data. She pulled up star maps and trade routes. She calculated travel times and fuel costs. Every number told the same story. Alien ships were going out of their way to use human repair services. At noon, she walked down to the repair bays. The huge hangar doors were open to let in the desert breeze. Inside, human mechanics worked on ships that looked like nothing from Earth. One vessel resembled a giant crystal flower. Another looked like it was made from liquid metal. A third ship seemed to shift between different shapes as she watched. Sarah found Elena Vasquez, the head mechanic, under the engine of a hegemony cruiser. Sparks flew from her welding torch. When she finished, she slid out on a wheeled platform and pulled off her safety mask. "Commander Chen," Elena said with surprise. "What brings you down here?" "I wanted to ask you about the alien ships. Have you noticed anything unusual about them lately?" Elena wiped her hands on a rag and thought for a moment. "You mean besides the fact that we're completely swamped with work?" "I mean the types of repairs they're requesting. Are they different from what you'd expect?" "Actually, yes. Most of these ships are in pretty good shape. The work they want done could easily be handled by their own people. Simple stuff mostly. Routine maintenance, minor adjustments, basic diagnostics." Sarah felt her theory growing stronger. "So why do you think they come here instead?" Elena shrugged. "Beats me. Though I will say this. The alien captains seem really happy with our work. Happier than I'd expect for basic repairs. Yesterday, a crystalline captain told me our service was the best in the galaxy. Can you believe that? We've only been doing this for 3 months. That evening, Sarah stayed late in her office. She video called her supervisor at the Galactic Trade Commission on Mars. Director Walsh appeared on her screen looking tired. Chen, this better be important. I'm dealing with a fuel shortage crisis in the Outer Rim. Sir, I've discovered something strange about the alien ships visiting our repair bays. They're bypassing their own species facilities to come here. The numbers don't make economic sense. Walsh frowned. What do you mean? Sarah shared her screen and showed him the data. Red dots marked human repair visits. Blue lines showed travel routes from nearby alien facilities. The visual was striking. These ships are traveling up to 2 weeks out of their way to reach Earth, she explained. They're paying premium rates and waiting in long queues. Some are passing 3 or 4 of their own repair stations to get here. Walsh studied the information for several minutes. This is probably just a coincidence, Chen. Maybe Earth is convenient for their trade routes. Sir, I've checked the trade routes. Most of these ships aren't carrying cargo. They're coming specifically for repairs. Look, Chen, I appreciate your attention to detail, but alien species have technology that's centuries ahead of ours. There's no logical reason they'd prefer human mechanics. This is probably just a temporary trend. Maybe Earth is fashionable right now. The call ended, leaving Sarah alone with her data. Director Walsh didn't believe her, but she knew she was right. Something important was happening at the new Giza spaceport, something that could change how humans fit into the galactic community. She looked out her window again. More ships were arriving. Their lights cut through the darkness like falling stars. Each one represented a choice, a decision by an alien captain to trust human hands with their most precious possession. Sarah made her own decision. She would keep investigating. She would document everything. And eventually she would prove that humans had something special to offer the galaxy, something that couldn't be measured in computer processing speed or technological advancement. The coffee maker beeped, signaling a fresh pot was ready. Sarah poured herself another cup and returned to her desk. She had work to do. The mystery of the alien captains was just beginning to unfold. Dr. Marcus Webb walked through the repair bays with his clipboard and recorder. As head of engineering, he wanted to understand why alien ships kept coming to Earth for repairs. Sarah Chen had asked him to investigate after the Trade Commission dismissed her findings. Marcus had been working with alien technology for 6 months now. He spoke basic hegemony and could understand simple crystalline light patterns. This made him the perfect person to talk directly with alien captains. His first interview was with Captain Zakth from the hegemony cruiser Void Walker. The alien stood 8 feet tall with blue-gray skin and 4 arms. His ship was getting routine engine maintenance that any hegemony station could handle. "Captain, may I ask why you chose our facility?" Marcus said in careful hegemony speech. Zakth's large eyes focused on him. "Your people fix things differently. Better. But hegemony technology is much more advanced than ours. Your own mechanics have better training and equipment." The captain made a sound that Marcus recognized as laughter. "Advanced, yes. Better, no. Your mechanics listen to my ship. Hegemony mechanics only listen to computers." Marcus wrote this down and asked for more details. Zakth explained that human mechanics spent time examining problems before starting repairs. They touched the ship's hull and listened to engine sounds. They asked questions about how the ship behaved in different situations. Hegemony mechanics plug in diagnostic computer. The captain said. Computer tells them what to fix. They fix it. Sometimes computer is wrong. Humans find problems computer cannot see. After Zakth left, Marcus found Elena Vasquez working on a crystalline harvester. The ship looked like a giant flower made of living crystal. Its surfaces changed color as Elena adjusted internal components. "Elena, what's your approach when working on alien ships?" She paused and wiped sweat from her forehead. "Same as any ship, really. I start by getting to know it. Each one has its own personality." "Personality?" "Sure, this crystalline ship, for example. Its energy flows have a rhythm like a heartbeat. When something's wrong, the rhythm changes. The crystalline mechanics probably have fancy equipment to measure energy flows, but I can feel the changes through the hull." Marcus watched Elena work. She moved slowly around the ship, pressing her hands against different sections. She stopped at one spot and frowned. "There's something off here," she said. "The crystal structure feels tired." She opened a panel and found a component that looked perfectly normal. But when she tested it, the readings showed it was working at only 60% efficiency. The ship's own diagnostic systems had reported everything as normal. How did you know? Marcus asked. Experience, I guess. After 30 years fixing engines, you develop instincts. Plus, I listen to what the ship is telling me. Marcus's next interview was with Captain Shrillnecks from the Arachnid Collective. The spider-like alien had brought her cargo hauler for what she called preventive maintenance. Your people see problems before they become disasters. Shrillnecks explained through her translation device. Arachnid mechanics fix things after they break. Humans fix things before they break. She told Marcus about a previous visit to Earth. A human mechanic had noticed unusual wear patterns on her ship's landing gear. The wear was so minor that arachnid scanners couldn't detect it. But the human recommended replacing the gear immediately. I thought he was trying to sell me unnecessary parts, Shrillnecks admitted, but I trusted his judgment. Good thing I did. 3 days later, my ship made emergency landing on Asteroid Station. If gear had failed, my crew would be dead. Marcus interviewed 7 more captains that day. Each told similar stories. Humans caught problems that computers missed. They suggested improvements that made ships run better. They treated each vessel as unique instead of following standard procedures. Captain Threx from the Molten Empire said his ship's engines ran 20% more efficiently after human modifications. Captain Blursty from the Quantum. Syndicate claimed human mechanics had extended her ship's life by 50 years through creative repairs. The most interesting interview came from an old trader named Captain Vexrin. He had been traveling the galaxy for over 200 years. His ship was ancient by most standards, but still flew perfectly. I have been to repair stations on 400 worlds, Vexrin said in accented English. Never seen anything like what humans do here. What makes us different? Marcus asked. Other species think in straight lines. Problem occurs, they follow manual, they apply solution. Works most of time. But sometimes problem is not in manual. Sometimes solution requires... He paused, searching for the right word. Creativity? Marcus nodded. Can you give me an example? Vexrin's eyes lit up. Last month, my gravity generator made strange noise. Took ship to Hegemony Station. They ran full diagnostics. Computer said everything normal. But noise continued. What did our mechanics do? Young human woman named Jenny listened to noise for 1 hour. Just listened. Then she asked me strange questions. When did noise start? What was I hauling? Did it happen in hyperspace or normal space? Was I alone or with other ships? Marcus knew Jenny Martinez. She was one of their newest mechanics fresh out of training school. She discovered problem was not with gravity generator. Vexrin continued. Problem was with cargo hold ventilation. Air currents were creating resonance that made gravity generator vibrate. Simple fix, but no computer would think to check ventilation for gravity problems. That evening, Marcus compiled his interviews into a report. The pattern was clear. Human mechanics approached problems differently than other species. They used intuition and creativity alongside technical knowledge. He found Elena in the break room eating dinner from a thermos. Elena, I've been thinking about what you said earlier, about ships having personalities. Do other species see it that way? She shook her head. Most aliens I've worked with treat their ships like complicated machines. They know every specification and procedure, but they don't really know their ship. It's like the difference between reading about music and actually playing an instrument. What do you mean? A human mechanic will spend time just observing a ship before starting work. We listen to how it sounds, feel how it vibrates, notice how it responds to different inputs. That gives us information no computer can provide. Marcus thought about this, so we're not just fixing problems. We're understanding the ship itself. Exactly. And once you understand something, you can predict what might go wrong in the future. You can suggest improvements. You can make it work better than it ever has before. The next morning, Marcus presented his findings to Sarah Chen. She read through his interviews carefully. This is incredible, Marcus. You've documented something that could change everything. What do you mean? If human mechanics really do have abilities that other species lack, this could be huge for Earth's position in galactic trade. We might not be the primitive newcomers everyone thinks we are. Marcus agreed, but he had concerns. The problem is proving it scientifically. How do you measure intuition? How do you test creativity? The Galactic Trade Commission wants hard data, not stories about mechanics who listen to ships. Sarah smiled. Then we need to give them hard data. I want you to start documenting everything. Before and after performance tests, efficiency measurements, failure predictions. Build a database that proves human methods work better. That could take months. We have time, and if we're right about this, it could change humanity's entire relationship with the galaxy. Marcus left Sarah's office feeling excited and nervous. They were on the edge of discovering something important. Something that could make humans essential players in galactic civilization. But first, they had to prove it. Elena Vasquez stared at the massive crystalline harvester that filled Bay 7. 3 different alien engineering teams had declared it beyond repair. The ship's quantum resonance chambers had a fault that made no sense. Sometimes they worked perfectly. Sometimes they failed completely. No one could predict when or why. The ship belonged to Captain Zethara of the Crystalline Collective. She had traveled for 6 weeks to reach Earth after her own people gave up on the repairs. Her crew needed the harvester to collect rare crystals from dangerous asteroid fields. Without it, they would go bankrupt. My people say this ship is cursed, Captain Zethara told Elena through her crystal translator. The resonance chambers follow no known pattern. Our best engineers studied them for months. They found no solution. Elena nodded and walked around the ship. It was beautiful in a strange way. The hull seemed to be made from one giant crystal that shifted colors in the light. She could see the internal structures through the transparent walls. Energy flowed through crystal pathways like glowing rivers. How long has this problem existed? Elena asked. 18 cycles. It started small. Brief interruptions during crystal formation. Now the chambers fail for hours at a time. We lose entire harvesting runs. Elena touched the ship's hull. The crystal felt warm under her palm. She could sense vibrations deep inside the structure. This was going to be challenging. For the next 2 days, Elena did something the alien engineers had never tried. She simply watched the ship. She arrived early each morning and sat in a chair beside the harvester. She observed how it behaved during different times of day. She noticed how the crystal structure changed color and brightness. She listened to the subtle sounds the ship made. Her colleagues thought she was wasting time. Even Captain Zethara seemed confused by Elena's approach. Should you not be running diagnostics? The captain asked on the second day. I am, Elena replied. Just not the kind your engineers would recognize. Elena had learned long ago that every machine had its own rhythm. Cars, trucks, aircraft, spacecraft. They all had patterns of behavior that revealed their secrets. The key was patience. You had to let the machine tell you what was wrong. On the 3rd morning, Elena noticed something interesting. The ship's energy flows were stronger in the early hours. As the day progressed and the desert heat increased, the flows became weaker. By afternoon, they were barely visible. She asked Captain Zethara about the ship's history. When was it built? Where had it operated? What kind of environments had it encountered? This harvester is 300 years old, the captain explained. It was built in the ice fields of Crystalline Prime. It operated in cold space for most of its life. Only recently did we start working in warmer systems. Elena felt a spark of understanding. She asked for detailed records of when the resonance chambers had failed. Captain Zethara provided logs going back 2 years. Elena spent hours studying the data. Slowly, a pattern emerged. The failures weren't random. They happened more often during local daytime hours. They were worse in summer months. They occurred more frequently when the ship was docked on planets with warm climates. Temperature, Elena said to herself. It's all about temperature. She called Marcus Webb to the repair bay. I think I know what's wrong with this ship, but I need your help to test my theory. Marcus arrived with his diagnostic equipment. Elena explained her observations about the connection between temperature and the resonance chamber failures. That doesn't make sense, Marcus said. Crystalline technology is designed to work in all environments. Their ships operate from ice worlds to desert planets. Maybe this one is different. It's 300 years old. Maybe it was built to different standards. Elena asked Captain Zethara to power up the resonance chambers. The crystal pathways began to glow with flowing energy. Elena and Marcus took temperature readings at different points throughout the ship. What they found surprised them both. The resonance chambers were running much hotter than they should. The ship's cooling systems were working, but they weren't designed for Earth's desert climate. Look at this, Elena said, pointing to a section where several crystal pathways came together. This junction is overheating. When it gets too hot, it disrupts the quantum resonance. Marcus ran more detailed scans. You're right. The crystalline matrix is expanding from heat. That changes the resonance frequency. No wonder the chambers are failing. Captain Zethara looked confused. But our engineers checked the cooling systems. They said everything was normal. Elena smiled. Your engineers were looking for broken parts. They didn't think to check if the cooling systems were adequate for this environment. The systems work fine for space operations. They just can't handle prolonged exposure to a hot planet. The solution seemed simple: upgrade the cooling systems. But Captain Zathara shook her head. That would require major modifications to the crystal matrix. Very dangerous. Very expensive. My people said it was impossible without rebuilding the entire ship. Elena studied the ship's design for several hours. The crystalline engineers were right. Traditional cooling upgrades would be extremely difficult. The resonance chambers were integrated deep into the crystal structure. Any major changes could destroy the ship. But Elena had a different idea. What if we don't upgrade the cooling systems? What if we modify how the resonance chambers operate instead? She explained her plan to Marcus and Captain Zathara. Instead of fighting the heat, they could adjust the quantum resonance to compensate for temperature changes. The ship's computer could monitor the crystal matrix temperature and automatically adjust the resonance frequency to maintain stability. That's... Marcus paused, thinking, actually, that might work, but it would require programming the ship's systems in a way they were never designed for. Captain Zathara was skeptical. This modification violates basic principles of crystalline engineering. Our systems are not meant to operate with variable resonance frequencies. Elena grinned. Sometimes the best solutions break the rules. It took 3 days to implement Elena's plan. She worked with Marcus to write new control software that would constantly adjust the resonance chambers based on temperature readings. They had to bypass several safety systems that were designed to prevent exactly this kind of modification. Captain Zathara watched nervously as they made the changes. If this damages my ship further, I will be ruined. Trust me, Elena said. I've been fixing impossible things for 30 years. When the modifications were complete, Elena powered up the resonance chambers. The crystal pathways began to glow. But this time, instead of the steady light they had produced before, the glow pulsed gently. The ship's computer was continuously adjusting the resonance frequency to compensate for temperature variations. They tested the system for 6 hours under different conditions. Elena used heat lamps to simulate various environmental temperatures. The resonance chambers remained stable throughout all the tests. I cannot believe this, Captain Zathara said, staring at the steady readings on her instruments. The chambers have not failed once. How is this possible? Elena patted the ship's crystal hull. Your engineers were thinking like engineers. They saw a cooling problem and tried to solve it with cooling solutions. I was thinking like a mechanic. I saw a ship that needed to adapt to new conditions. Word of Elena's success spread quickly through the spaceport. Other crystalline ships began requesting similar modifications. Captains from different species started asking if humans could solve their impossible problems too. Marcus documented everything for his report to Sarah Chen. The data was impressive. Elena had solved in 1 week a problem that had stumped the best crystalline engineers for months. More importantly, her solution was actually better than traditional methods. The modified ship was now more adaptable and efficient than factory specifications. This changes everything, Sarah said when she read Marcus's report. We're not just fixing problems anymore. We're improving alien technology in ways they never thought possible. Elena didn't seem impressed by all the attention her success was generating. She was already working on the next challenging repair, a quantum syndicate vessel with a drive system that phased in and out of reality. Just another day at the office, she said with a smile. But everyone else knew this was much more than routine maintenance. Elena had proven that human creativity could solve problems that defeated advanced alien science. She had shown that sometimes the best approach was to ignore the rules and try something completely different. The galaxy was starting to take notice. Dr. Amara Okafor arrived at New Giza Spaceport 6 months after Elena's famous repair of the crystalline harvester. As Earth's leading expert on alien cultures, she had been sent by the Global Science Council to study what they were calling the human repair phenomenon. Ships from 12 different species now waited in long lines to use human repair services. The spaceport had expanded 3 times, but demand still exceeded capacity. Alien engineers were arriving not as customers, but as students wanting to learn human repair methods. Amara set up her research station in the main observation deck. From there, She could watch the repair bays and interview both human mechanics and alien visitors. What she discovered in her first week changed her understanding of galactic civilization. The problem wasn't just about repair techniques. It was about thinking itself. Her first major interview was with Engineer Prime Kethvor from the Hegemony Technical Institute. He had traveled 3 months to study under Elena Vasquez and other human mechanics. "Your species approaches problems in ways we never considered," Kethvor explained through his translation device. "Hegemony education teaches one correct method for each situation. We learn procedures, follow protocols, apply standard solutions." Amara made notes on her tablet. "And humans do things differently?" "Humans seem to have no standard procedures. Each mechanic solves problems in unique ways. Even when fixing identical ships, they use different approaches. This should create chaos, but instead it creates better results." Kethvor showed Amara his study notes. He had documented 47 different human repair techniques that violated standard hegemony engineering principles. Yet all of them worked better than traditional methods. "My instructors at the Technical Institute would call these approaches incorrect," he said, "but I have seen them succeed where our methods failed. This confuses me greatly." Amara's next interview was with crystal singer Yathala from the Crystalline Collective. As a master engineer, Yathala had designed ships for over 200 years. She had come to Earth after hearing about Elena's impossible repair. "Crystalline engineering follows harmony principles," Yathala explained, her crystal body pulsing with soft light. "Each component must resonate in perfect balance with all others. We spend decades learning these harmonies. There are precise formulas for every situation. But human methods don't follow these formulas. Human methods should not work at all. They break harmony principles, ignore resonance requirements, combine incompatible systems, yet somehow they create new harmonies we never imagined possible." Yathala had spent 2 months studying with human mechanics. She was trying to understand how they could violate crystalline engineering rules and still produce superior results. "Your mechanic Elena modified our quantum resonance chambers in ways that should have destroyed the ship. Instead, the ship now operates more efficiently than factory specifications." "How is this possible?" Amara realized she was uncovering something much bigger than repair techniques. She was discovering fundamental differences in how species approached problems and learning. She interviewed engineers from 8 more species over the following weeks. The pattern was consistent. Every advanced civilization in the galaxy had developed highly specialized, rigid approaches to technology. They had centuries or millennia of accumulated knowledge, but that knowledge had become a limitation. The Molten Empire taught their engineers 12,000 different procedures for engine repairs. The Quantum Syndicate had protocols for every possible drive malfunction. The Arachnid Collective used mathematical formulas to predict and prevent all equipment failures. These systems worked well for routine problems. But they failed when faced with unique situations or when creative solutions were needed. Humans, being newcomers to galactic technology, had no established procedures to follow. They approached each problem with fresh eyes. They combined techniques from different fields. They weren't afraid to try approaches that seemed impossible or illogical. "We call this thinking outside the box," Elena explained to a group of alien engineers during one of her teaching sessions. "Most problems have obvious solutions that everyone tries first. But sometimes the obvious solution is wrong. You have to step back and think about the problem differently." She was working on a Quantum Syndicate courier ship with a navigation system that randomly jumped to wrong coordinates. 5 different quantum engineers had spent weeks trying to fix the quantum processors and star charts. Elena ignored the navigation equipment entirely. Instead, she studied how the ship's crew operated the controls. She noticed that the captain, a nervous pilot named Quexil, always double-checked coordinates before jumping. He would input the destination, verify it, then input it again to be sure. "The problem isn't with your navigation system," Elena told the surprised captain. "The problem is that you're giving it conflicting instructions." She discovered that the captain's habit of double-entering coordinates was confusing the quantum processors. The system was trying to average both sets of inputs, creating random errors. The solution was simple: reprogram the system to ignore duplicate entries. "But this makes no sense," Quexel protested. "Quantum navigation systems are designed to accept multiple inputs for safety reasons. Your safety feature became a bug when combined with your personal piloting habits," Elena explained. "The system works perfectly for other pilots. It just needs a small adjustment to work with your style. Watching this interaction, Amara understood something important. Human mechanics didn't just fix machines. They considered how those machines interacted with their users. They looked at the whole system, not just the broken parts. Most alien civilizations separated technology from behavior. Engineers fixed machines. Psychologists studied pilots. Training specialists taught procedures. But humans naturally combined all these perspectives. Amara expanded her research to include alien apprentices studying under human mechanics. She found that young aliens learned human techniques much faster than older, experienced engineers. Their minds were more flexible and open to new approaches. Engineer student Rixoth from the Hegemony had been studying for 3 months. My teachers at home said there was one correct way to calibrate plasma drives, she explained. Here I learned 6 different methods that work better in different situations. Now I understand that the correct method depends on many factors: ship age, flight patterns, pilot preferences, environmental conditions. This flexibility was spreading beyond just repair work. Alien engineers who studied human methods began applying creative problem-solving to their own civilization's challenges. They started questioning established procedures and experimenting with new approaches. The results were remarkable. A crystalline engineer used human-inspired techniques to increase crystal growth rates by 30%. A molten empire specialist combined human flexibility with traditional methods to create stronger metal alloys. An arachnid mathematician applied human outside the box, thinking to solve transportation problems that had puzzled her people for generations. But not everyone welcomed these changes. Amara interviewed several alien officials who were concerned about the disruption human methods were causing. Order and tradition have served the hegemony for 10,000 years, complained Administrator Vex Thule during a video call from the hegemony homeworld. Now our young engineers want to abandon proven methods for human experiments. This is dangerous chaos. Similar concerns came from conservative factions in other species. They worried that human influence would undermine the stability and predictability that had made their civilizations successful. Amara realized she was witnessing a cultural revolution that extended far beyond spacecraft repairs. Human creativity was challenging the fundamental assumptions that governed galactic civilization. Species that had perfected their technologies over millennia were discovering that perfection itself could be a limitation. She compiled her findings into a preliminary report for the Global Science Council. The implications were staggering. Humanity's supposed technological inferiority was actually a unique advantage. Their lack of established procedures allowed them to approach problems with unprecedented flexibility. But the real breakthrough was bigger than just human methods. It was the discovery that combining different approaches could produce results better than any single species could achieve alone. Human creativity enhanced by alien knowledge created possibilities that neither could reach independently. As Amara finished her report, she watched Elena teaching a mixed class of human and alien mechanics. They were working together on a new type of hybrid engine that combined crystalline resonance technology with human adaptive systems. The design would have been impossible for any single species to create. This is just the beginning, Amara wrote in her conclusion. We're not just changing how repairs are done. We're changing how the galaxy thinks about problems, learning, and cooperation. The human repair phenomenon is actually the start of a new era in galactic civilization. 1 year after Sarah Chen first noticed the strange pattern in her reports, she stood before the Galactic Trade Commission on the space station above Jupiter. The massive chamber held representatives from 47 different species. Today, they would vote on her proposal to make human repair methods the new galactic standard for complex technological problems. The commission chamber buzzed with translated conversations. Some species supported the human proposal, others opposed it strongly. The debate had been going on for 3 months since Sarah submitted Dr. Amara Okafor's research findings. Director Walsh, who had once dismissed Sarah's observations as coincidence, now sat at the head table as her strongest supporter. The data was impossible to ignore. Human repair methods had improved efficiency ratings across 12 different ship classes by an average of 28%. The evidence is clear, Walsh announced to the Assembly. Human repair techniques have solved problems that defeated our best engineers for decades. Ships repaired by human methods last longer, run more efficiently, and require less maintenance. Commissioner Thexvar from the hegemony stood to address the chamber. His forearms gestured dramatically as he spoke through his translation device. The hegemony acknowledges human success in specific cases, but we question whether these methods can be taught systematically. Human repairs seem to depend on individual creativity and intuition. How can we standardize something that appears to be based on personal talent? Sarah had expected this question. She activated the holographic display in the center of the chamber. Images showed the expanded New Giza spaceport, now covering 50 square miles of desert. 3 similar facilities operated on Mars, Europa, and Titan. Commissioner, we have already proven that human methods can be taught and standardized. Over the past year, we have trained 1,500 alien engineers in human repair techniques. Their success rates match those of experienced human mechanics. She showed statistics from the training programs. Alien students who completed the 6-month course in human methods achieved 92% success rates on previously unsolvable problems. More importantly, they were teaching these methods to others in their home systems. Crystal singer Vethara from the Crystalline Collective pulsed with blue light as she spoke. The collective supports this proposal. Human methods have revolutionized our approach to crystal resonance engineering. Our ships now operate 30% more efficiently, thanks to hybrid human crystalline techniques. But opposition remains strong from conservative factions. Admiral Korthmax from the Molten Empire military stepped forward. The Empire has concerns about security implications. Human methods require sharing detailed technical information between species. This could compromise military advantages that have maintained galactic peace for centuries. Sarah nodded respectfully. Admiral, we propose that military applications remain under each species' control. The new standards would apply only to civilian trade vessels and commercial operations. The debate continued for hours. Sarah listened to arguments from dozens of commissioners. Some praised human innovation. Others worried about disrupting traditional hierarchies. A few questioned whether humans could be trusted with such responsibility. Finally, Commissioner Prime Yethkulor from the Central Authority called for testimony from actual ship captains who had used human repair services. Captain Zakath from the Hegemony, who had been Marcus Webb's first interview subject, approached the speaking platform. 1 year ago, my ship had engine problems that Hegemony mechanics could not diagnose. Human mechanics found the issue in 2 hours and prevented what would have been catastrophic failure in deep space. They saved my ship and my crew's lives. Captain after captain told similar stories. The arachnid trader who avoided bankruptcy because human mechanics extended her ship's operational life by 50 years. The Quantum Syndicate explorer whose vessel was modified to operate in previously impossible conditions. The Crystalline Harvester crew who increased their efficiency by 40%, using human-designed hybrid systems. The most powerful testimony came from an unexpected source. Engineer Prime Kethivor, the hegemony instructor who had initially opposed human methods, stood before the commission. I came to Earth believing human techniques were primitive and dangerous. I was wrong. Human methods do not replace our knowledge. They enhance it. My students now solve problems I could never have imagined. The combination of human creativity and hegemony precision creates possibilities neither could achieve alone. After 8 hours of debate, Commissioner Prime Yethkulor called for the vote. The chamber fell silent as representatives from each species registered their decisions on the quantum voting system. Sarah watched the numbers appear on the central display. Green lights for support, red for opposition, yellow for abstention. The count was closer than she had hoped. 24 species voted in favor. 18 opposed. 5 abstained. The measure passes, Commissioner Prime Yethkulor announced. Human repair methodologies are hereby recognized as the galactic standard for complex technological problem-solving. Implementation will begin immediately with voluntary adoption programs. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions. Supporters celebrated while opponents voiced their concerns. Sarah felt both triumph and responsibility. Earth had just become essential to galactic civilization, but the real work was just beginning. Over the following months, the changes were remarkable. The new Giza spaceport expanded again to accommodate increased traffic. Similar facilities opened on 12 other worlds, staffed by human-trained alien mechanics. Elena Vasquez found herself promoted to Galactic Chief Repair Instructor. She traveled between worlds, teaching her techniques to engineers from dozens of species. Her simple approach of listening to ships and thinking creatively became the foundation of new engineering curricula across the galaxy. "I never thought I'd be teaching aliens how to fix their own ships," Elena told Sarah during a brief visit to Earth. "But it's amazing what happens when different species share knowledge instead of competing." Dr. Marcus Webb established the Institute for Human-Alien Engineering Cooperation on Luna. The facility brought together the best minds from across the galaxy to develop new hybrid technologies that combined human creativity with alien expertise. The first major breakthrough came from a joint human crystalline team that created self-adapting ship hulls. The hulls used crystalline growth technology guided by human-designed adaptive algorithms. Ships could now modify their own structure to optimize performance for different missions. Human Hegemony Partnership developed engines that adjusted their output based on pilot behavior and flight conditions. A human quantum collaboration created navigation systems that learned from experience and improved their accuracy over time. But the most significant change was cultural. Species that had maintained rigid hierarchies for millennia began encouraging innovation and creativity. Young aliens who had never been allowed to question established methods suddenly found themselves valued for their fresh perspectives. The Arachnid Collective reorganized their entire education system to include human-style creative problem-solving. The Molten Empire established innovation centers where engineers could experiment with unconventional approaches. Even the conservative hegemony began promoting younger officers who showed creative thinking abilities. Sarah Chen, now director of Galactic Repair Operations, often returned to her old office to remember how it all started. The same desk where she had first noticed the strange pattern in alien ship visits now held reports from hundreds of repair facilities across 47 star systems. Tom, her former assistant and now deputy director, found her there one evening, reviewing the latest efficiency statistics. "Commander, the quarterly reports are in. Human-trained facilities are operating at full capacity with 6-month waiting lists. Customer satisfaction ratings are at 98% across all species." Sarah smiled as she looked at the numbers. Human repair methods hadn't just solved the immediate problem of alien ships seeking better service. They had triggered a fundamental shift in how galactic civilization approached challenges. "Tom, do you remember when Director Walsh said this was just a coincidence? That alien species had no logical reason to prefer human mechanics? I remember you staying late every night determined to prove him wrong." Sarah nodded, looking out her window at the lights of ships arriving from across the galaxy. "I was trying to solve a mystery about why aliens liked our repair bays. I never imagined we were starting a revolution that would change how the entire galaxy thinks about problems." The irony wasn't lost on her. Humanity's technological inferiority had become their greatest advantage. Their fresh perspective, unencumbered by millennia of established procedures, had revolutionized galactic engineering. But more than that, humans had proven that the most advanced solutions sometimes came from the most unexpected sources. They had shown that creativity and intuition were just as valuable as technical knowledge and sophisticated equipment. As Sarah prepared to leave her office, another report caught her attention. It was from the Outer Rim territories where a new species had just made contact with galactic civilization. Their ships were arriving at human repair facilities seeking help with integration challenges